so I won't do that again, but welcome. And today's topic will be NYSHIP, the New York State Health Insurance Program. Want to first say that we are recording the sessions, so each of these sessions will be recorded. And if you or your colleagues want to go back and watch, or you have additional questions, the slides and the recordings will be available on the Office of Research CCNY website. So if you just go to ccny.cuny.edu, you want to search Research Seminar Series, or you can just go to the research homepage. You can find recordings and also the slides of these Research Seminar Series. You may have to leave early, so I am going to put in a plug for our next series. These sessions are held monthly on usually the third Thursday of the month. Is it the third? Today is the 1, 2. Is it the second? Today is the second. It's the second Thursday of the month. So these sessions are held monthly, the second Thursday of the month from 2 to 3 p.m. Our next session will be Thursday, October 12th, and we're going to talk about Cayuse. If you're not familiar, Cayuse is a cloud-based system where you can submit proposals, you can look at awards. Our Grants and Sponsored Programs Office uses 2 of these modules, Cayuse XP and Cayuse 424. And our seminar in October will talk about how do you submit proposals here at City College, the internal timeline, and the workflow within the Cayuse system. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to Alan. And Alan, the floor is yours. Oh, maybe I should introduce you. Alan Shee is our Director of Research Development. He's been working long and hard on trying to simplify the NYSHIP process. And now, Alan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So today, the main topic, as Rose mentioned, that we will be focused on the appointing the students, full-time Ph.D. students, to this non-teaching agents appointments, so that they will be able to access, be eligible for this NYSHIP program. And so we want to discuss about the what NYSHIP is and the process of appointing the student to this NTA position and issues associated with those. So NYSHIP, as Dr. Wesson mentioned, that it stands for New York State Health Insurance Program. It's a comprehensive health insurance program for the New York State public employees. And so CCNY appoints our full-time PhD students to the non-teaching agents position. With this appointment, they will then be eligible for the NYSHIP health insurance plan. We often communicate with each other, stating that we are appointing the student to the NYSHIPs, which is not necessarily true because NYSHIP is just a program that this NTA appointment would allow them to access to. To be eligible, however, the annual payroll amount under this NTA appointment need to be more than 4122, and that's the hourly rate times the number of hours need to be exceeding 4122 in order to be eligible. Simply by appointing to the NTA position does not necessarily make them eligible. They need to be making this much money to be eligible. So not only the NTA, but also all the appointments to the tax levy lines, so long as the annual payroll is greater than 4122, they will be eligible. So our student has often been appointed to adjunct lecturers, or we call them TAs. Or they will be appointed to as a graduate assistant, either A, B, C, or D, and so forth. They will be, the first 2 will be more than 4122 per year. So obviously those appointments will also make them eligible for the NYSHIP program. And but today we are specifically talking about the non-teaching agent appointment. This appointment we are it's only eligible for those full-time PhD students at City College. And again, it just simply an appointment allow them to access this health plan. This appointment process during the past has been a very complex process, and because these appointment, the cost associated with this appointment would involve a lot of research foundations accounts, and there are many issues associated with how these accounts pay for those these appointment costs. And so we will discuss a little bit about that, and then obviously the whole purpose is for us to simplify the process, to minimize the issues. And we are still refining the process, but hopefully the current process is better than before. So since it's so complicated, the first question we need to answer ourselves is, if it's so complicated, why bother with this process? Our full-time PhD student, first of all, need to be provided with a health insurance coverage. If they were appointed as teaching agents, then certainly an adjunct lecturers or the graduate assistants, obviously they would be covered with the health insurance. So that certainly satisfy that. However, a lot of our PhD students would eventually do research with their faculty advisors, and they will be placed on research foundation payroll to support them for doing the research. And those research foundation payroll is based on their faculty's research grants or fellowship and so forth. By putting them on the RF payroll as a graduate research assistant or the part-time B employee at research foundation payroll, the fringe benefit is only 2 or 8%, depends on the situations. However, this fringe rate does not make the student eligible for the health insurance plan through research foundation payroll. Therefore, we need to find a way to provide the health insurance to the student. And so this non-teaching agent, appointing them more than 4122 annual rate, then they will be eligible for the NYSHIP coverage. But a general confusion, a common confusion is that, all right, I pay from this grant 4122, I'm paying the students' health insurance premium under the NYSHIP. This is actually not true. This NTA appointment is still a form of payroll. The NYSHIP health insurance premium, if the student elect to be covered, it is actually a premium deducted from the paycheck from this payroll, from this appointment. Therefore, the 4122 sometimes perceived as the health insurance premium, which is not true. It is still a payroll. Therefore, the students still have to submit the timesheet. That is another layer of complexity in this particular process. So again, I want to stress that the NTA appointment is a payroll appointment. The NYSHIP deduction for the premium is just like when we are being paid from our employers, the insurance premium is deducted from our paychecks. So the process obviously involves many steps. First of all, you need to put the student onto the program, onto the non-teaching agents. And during the past, obviously, that cost will have to be encumbered somewhere because eventually this cost has to be reimbursed back to the college. And therefore, as I mentioned, this is a payroll appointment. Therefore, the students still need to submit the timesheets timely timesheet submissions. And that would allow the timesheet generate the payroll, and the payroll allow the premium of the health insurance to be deducted from. Now, if the student's appointment should be terminated, they graduate this semester, or for some reason they drop out of the program, or for many other reasons, that their appointment is no longer true and need to be terminated. This termination need to be explicitly processed with a CCNY HR. By the way, in the audience, we have several colleagues from the CCNY HR office who has been helping me a lot to understand the program. So I want to mention them here and express my gratitude to their assistance. And then the step, once the timesheet is being submitted every semester, there will be an invoice generated based on the cost, the payroll that has been issued to the students, and the college want to recover that from whatever account initially encumbered to. During the past, it will be close to 100 RF accounts involved, and then the invoice will be paid out of against those accounts. The invoice came from the city college and to reimburse from the accounts. So this is just, I know it's a busy graph, but just to show you the many steps involved during the past. If we started with the appointments, then the faculty will, or the advisor will provide the RF account that they want to pay for this NTA appointments, and then the student informations, and either they or their staff in the department or in their division or the grants program managers prepare the paperwork, PF7 mainly, and then they submit it to the CCNY HR for the NYSHIP appointments to enter into the system. And the HR staff will then create a master list to see who has been appointed from when to when, and the cost will be encumbered against which account and so forth. That list will be sent to the provost office here. The staff will check if the RF account or whatever account expiration date is okay. Maybe some of the account expire before the semester or whatever, then that will not be a valid account to encumber the cost against. And if there is still budget in there, and if that budget is allowed by the sponsor and so forth. So if these are not true, any of them have issues, then they will go back to look for another account. But if they are okay, based on the initial validations, that list was sent to RF. RF will encumber those amounts against those accounts involved. Now, the students and the faculty submit the timesheets. Finally, semester ends, the CCNY finance issue the invoices, then the invoice need to be paid. And provost office, again, in these green boxes, will process those invoices. But during the past, one common issue is that the invoice came too late, because it sometimes takes months after the semester ends before the invoice could be generated. And there are many reasons for that delay. But let's say the invoice came, account already expired on the RF side. Now you don't have an account, valid account to pay for that cost. So there will be issues about how to find an account to pay for that, or the account was not encumbered properly at the beginning here. And then now the budget has been spent down and there is not enough money to pay for it. So there are issues associated with all these. And so we will talk about how these could be simplified in a minute. But let's just talk about the beginning. When you appoint a student, this will be the PF7 forms. There are student may be the first time to be on the tax levy accounts appointments. So there are additional information highlighted in yellow that the student have to fill up, and along with some other paperwork. But if it's just a reappointment, then only the purple ones need to be filled up. And in this particular case, we can pre-populate many of the informations. If the student were on GAA or adjunct lecturers, and now they will be transferred to this NTA appointments, the PI should work with the HR to complete the transfer form also to transfer the title. So you can see that the process is not a very trivial one. And during the past, individual departments, individual divisions, individual PIs prepare all these paperwork. And so sometimes inconsistency can be there. But anyway, they all send to the HR at CCNY, and then HR then process those and put them onto eventually with CUNY to put on the New York State Civil Service system so that they will be able to generate the payrolls. RF account encumbrance, as I mentioned, the list will be sent to RF and then they will encumber it. Sometimes they missed it, sometimes they forgot to encumber on a certain account, or sometimes the information were not prepared properly on the master list. And so during the past, it induced some other level of issues as well. And so when the invoice eventually comes, there may have issues about paying those invoices from those intended accounts. Compounded with that is that during the past, during the process when I was trying to understand this process better, then I realized that a lot of the students did not submit their timesheet regularly and accurately and timely. That triggered a lot of issues that I will talk about in a minute. When a student failed to submit a timesheet with the intended number of hours, so what happened is the timesheet generate a payroll. The payroll, therefore, will have the funds to allow the proper premium deduction, health premium deductions, and other withholdings. If the student did not submit the timesheet, there is no payroll for the pay period, right? There's no paycheck being issued. Now, when there is no payroll being issued, the premiums still have to be deducted, even though the withholding may not be necessary, but the premium deduction is still occurring because the health insurance continues. So now the premium become an outstanding balance on the student's account. And also if the student submit only 1 hour rather than individual plan right now, it's supposed to be 4 hours, but they only submit 1 hour and then submit 5 hours the next time. The smaller number of hours submitted on this particular timesheet did not generate enough payroll. Again, the premium is greater than the payroll generated. Now it become a negative. Then that become an outstanding balance on the student account again. So in the absence of the timesheets or not enough hours reported as scheduled, then it become an outstanding balance on the student account. By the way, this will be a student liabilities to pay the outstanding balance at the end. It is not a college that's supposed to pay that. And I will explain a little bit more about that. Tomorrow, we will have a town hall for the student as well. And I will explain that to the student as well. Because during the past, student came back with this big bill from civil service, thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars, and say, hey, Dr. So-and-so, you need to pay for this. I don't have the money for it, and I don't know what this is about. I will make sure that the students know what this is about. And I hope that the faculty through this presentation also know what this is about. This is about that the students' health insurance premium were not deducted properly from their payrolls because they did not submit the timesheets properly, timely, or they did not do the hours properly. Okay. So I want to emphasize when you are reviewing the students' timesheets, make sure that they don't combine hours of 2 or more timesheets into just one timesheet. You want them to submit retroactive timesheets. If they miss that, or because of the appointment process delayed beyond the first or second timesheet submission, actually we already passed 2 timesheet submission deadlines. So if they miss those 2 or one of them, you need to make sure that they don't combine hours. 4 hours become 8 hours on one timesheet. We don't want them to do that. We want them to submit 4 hours plus 4 hours. And also, one thing that I want to stress is that they were appointed to 48 hours for this semester, or 92 hours, or whatever number of hours, I cannot quite remember, total number of hours for the year. They need to use those hours up. The reason is, if they don't use let's say that instead of 92 hours, they use only 40 hours, and they don't want to get the payroll for some reason. That become a problem because that may make their number, the total payroll lower than the 4122 per year. Remember that they need to make 4122 per year on their payroll under this NTA appointment to be eligible for the NYSHIP. So if at the end they did not submit that many hours as appointed, that means they are not meeting the minimum required. And so they therefore are not supposed to be eligible for NYSHIP because they make lower than that. So the number of hours appointed is a commitment to work that many hours under this appointment. It is not an optional income that student decided that I don't need it. So that's a commitment. Just want to make sure that people understand that. So again, if the student report fewer hours or no timesheet at all, that become a problem, and that create an outstanding balance. So what happened with the outstanding balance there? Let's just say that the student missed the past 2 timesheet submissions. So, but their premium started August, and now they have this amount of, let's just say that they have $110 on their account as outstanding balance now. So when they submit the 3rd timesheet, including the previous ones, what happened is that the account will be deducted for the premium for that particular pay periods, the 3rd pay periods. That's not a problem, just like the normal deductions. But they will also be deducted against additional deduction for their outstanding balance. But they are not going to take all of it, of your payrolls. They will correct the outstanding balance only up to additional $100. So if they have $110 in outstanding balance, the 3rd paycheck, if that amount is enough, it will deduct the premium for the 3rd pay periods, and then they will deduct $100. So they still have $10 of outstanding balance, and that will be corrected on the 4th pay periods when they submit the next timesheets, and so forth. So again, timely and accurate timesheet is very, very important. If the student is to be terminated for their non-teaching adjunct appointment, that termination need to be explicit. There is a form that you need to fill up to submit it to the HR. You don't submit it through the Office of Research in this particular case. The termination could be the student graduate in December, even though the appointment is all the way to January, but that's fine. you need to terminate that. And the termination paperwork should be submitted before the termination date. Now, suppose that the student somehow did not submit the timesheet for the whole semester and then only submit at the very end. Now he or she will incur a large amount of outstanding balance in their account, and they graduate, they terminated. What happened to the outstanding balance? The New York State Civil Service will issue a bill to them. So when the students see that bill is not a college liability. It's not the faculty's liability. That it is not the amount that the college did not pay for the student. The college already paid for the NTA hours to pay for the payroll. That outstanding balance is the premium deduction that the student hasn't paid yet because they didn't have the payroll to pay for it. But they benefit from the health insurance already. They had the coverage of the health insurance during that time. So this particular outstanding balance is students' liability because their paycheck were not deducted for those premium, and therefore it become an outstanding balance. So again, that is a student liability because they didn't get those deduction done properly. Okay. And if you have questions, you can ask later on, and I can explain more. So termination is very important as well. Even though the PF7 specify the from and to dates for the appointment, but my understanding is the appointment does not automatically terminate it. And we don't want to terminate the whole batch of students simply because that, okay, the academic years ends, we terminate them and then we started the appointment again. The reason is that may cause in the coverage of health insurance to have gaps, and we certainly don't want that to the students. So if you have to terminate a student because of the graduation or whatever, make sure you work with the student to and the HR to terminate the student's appointment properly. If you don't, their premium continue, the state consider they still have the coverage of health NYSHIP coverage, and the premium continue to incur, and then the outstanding balance continue to be on their account. And so that's not a very good situation to be. Now, after all this timesheet submitted, the invoice is supposed to come at the end of the semester, but sometimes it's not as simple as that because the number of hours may not be used up just yet that the student is missing many timesheets. So the finance department really cannot reconcile the account to generate the invoices. There could be some other issue related to their workload and so forth. But that will be one of the issues, is that the timesheet is not fully completed. So make sure you work with your students to submit the timesheet timely and accurately. So now the invoices comes, we have to pay for it. And as I mentioned, by this, let's say that using this spring semester, for example, spring semester, the appointment is supposed to end May 22nd of this year. And we have just received, we are still receiving the invoices. We started receiving it in August, and we just received another batch about a week ago. And I haven't go through all of them yet because so I don't know if that's all of the spring invoices or there will be more to come. And some of the faculty are paying their spring 2022 invoices just this March. And so you can see the long delay is not a very good thing, and it causes a problem. And that's where part of the major problem that triggered us to look into this process. Think about that, the spring 2022 invoices did not come until 2023 spring. Even though we encumber those costs on the RF account, that project ends in fall of 2022. Supposedly, you have plenty of time after spring 2022 to pay for those costs. But the invoice did not come until spring of 2023, when the project already ends. The account basically closed. Now, who is going to pay for this invoice? If the PI has other projects, yes, they may be able to move the cost to other projects. But if they don't, that become a problem. Or the account may already have spent on their funds for some reason. And so all these become a big problem for us and big headaches for the college as well. So Dr. Wesson started to look into how do we minimize that kind of mitigate that kind of issues. So one solution that we came up with is to pay for those invoices, some of them at least. So this past spring, we started an experiment program, which we look at all the encumbrance and look at the students' appointment on the RF side as well. If the student is supported by the external funded research foundation accounts, for example, an account from NSF funding, NIH funding, and so forth, or any kind of fellowships, like NOAA fellowships, and so forth, then the Office of Research, with the Provost support, we will pay for those invoices. Therefore, we disencumber those original RF accounts, or PI individual accounts, and put all the burden on a single Provost account. Who can be benefiting from this support are those students, or the faculty are appointing their students for more than 25K in addition to the NYSHIP's appointment on the RF payroll, or support of fellowship more than 425K. And this eliminate the invoices cannot be charged against the PI account because of the expiration or not sufficient funds, because now Provost office is taking care of that responsibilities. And we think that it is making some headway into solving the problem or mitigate the issues. So started from this particular academic years, we create an online portal and allow the faculties or their supporting staff to submit the student information through this portal, and we appoint the students to the non-teaching agent appointments against a single Provost account. If the student, again, is externally funded, but this year we require that support amount to be more than 32K. If so, then we will pay for that. If not, we still ask the PI to submit it through this portal, but provide us with the PI's own account. In this case, it will be fallback to the original process, but we will put the cost on the PI's account because they are not supported externally with the funds, with external funds, or they are not as much 32K. But this portal submission allow us to capture all the comprehensive data about the students' appointment informations, student name, student email address, and so forth. And so this is what we did. And so same chart not much of a step being taken out. However, these gray out boxes are the one that we believe can be, if not totally eliminate the problem associated with each of these boxes, at least it can be greatly reduced of that. And then we simplify it with a single portal submissions. So hopefully everybody, including faculty and their staff, feel that this is an easier process. And we prepare the PF7s for all the students going through this portal, so that hopefully help the staff and PI to minimize their administrative work. And then we provide HR with a more consistent paperwork and hopefully reduce the confusion and so forth. So this is the portal, how the portal looks like. And if you already submitted students' information, you should be familiar with it. We certainly will take additional suggestions to make this portal be more clean, simpler, or whatever, make it more streamlined. So as a faculty, most of the audience in this seminar will be, your responsibility is to make sure your student have a timely submissions, and I will show the schedule in a minute. Make sure the timely submission of the timesheet and accurately with the number of hours, and that way minimize the outstanding balance issues. And make sure you terminate your student, because you are the one who know when are they going to graduate. We don't. So you need to take the responsibility to make sure you terminate your student's appointment with HR before when they are graduating or for some reason leaving the program. Otherwise, the NYSHIP health insurance will continue to be provided to them, no matter if they are using it or not, and the premium will continue to be accrue on their account, and eventually the student will be given a bill, can be a very big bill to pay for those premium. And so we don't want them to be surprised by that. That certainly is not a very good situation for students and faculty. You don't want to get into that kind of a headache neither. And if the student is got married or have the need to move from individual coverage plan to a family coverage plan, or vice versa, when they have a coverage plan changes, I would like to ask you to submit through the same portal, just as if you are appointing them, but just specify the family insurance plan. That way, even though it's a duplications of informations, but at least I will be notified and I can work with HR to help changing that. Okay. HR reminded me that within the 30 days of event, this paperwork need to be submitted. Otherwise, there could be 45 days of waiting period or that delay the coverage. So make sure students are aware that within 30 days of events, when they need to change the plan, they need to complete the paperwork. And that means you need to give us at least a few days for the HR as well to process that change. And of course, we recognize that this is initial implementation this way. It may not be perfect from your perspective. There could be some other things that need to be changed to make it better and more clear. We will welcome your constructive suggestions. We are always open to that kind of suggestions. Anyway, so this is the HR table. They send out to all the students who are appointed. And this yellow dates are the due dates of the timesheets. And as you can see here, for the individual plan, HR issued this table with 4 hours. And that would allow them to have a 48 hours of work hours committed to this appointment. And that would make them eligible for the coverage. And spring is a little bit complicated, and we don't necessary to talk about it at this point, because spring also cover the summer months by advanced deduction of their premiums. So the number of hours for spring will be a little bit different layouts, but the HR will issue that to the students when the time comes in spring. So 4 hours for the individual plan, 6 hours for the family plan, and it is 4 hours throughout, 6 hours throughout this semester. The due date is all the same. Make sure that you work with the student to submit the timesheet properly. So that's all that I have. I again just want to mention for the memo that HR sent out, or the document that HR sent out for this table, number 3 is very, very important. And I just, if you are a faculty or a staff supporting the faculties, when you get a chance, make sure that the student understand if there is a outstanding balance, it is the student's liability to pay for that. And that will be a bill from the civil service. I am open to questions.
So yes, thank you, Alan. And if there are questions, please put them in the chat, but I do have a few that are here already.
Okay.
Can you tell me, and maybe this is for some of the HR folks, what are the individual and the family premiums currently that the students pay?
HR?
Hi, I'm Rosemarie Javier from HR. So the individual premiums is $24.19, and family premiums would be $166.55.
And this
Per
is
period.
per what? Per
Pay
Per
period,
month.
right?
Yep.
Mhm. For pay period.
got it. So relative to this chart, either the family or the individual chart that you showed, Alan, can a student or a faculty member change these hours in a pay period?
They, Javier, they can change it, right? But we don't recommend they change it. They should stay with this schedule as much.
Can you explain why?
The reason is, for example, it's 4-4-4-4. If they put 1 and 5, then the pay period of 1 hour will not generate enough payments, payroll check to pay for their NYSHIP premium.
So can I say it a different way?
Yes.
So if you change these hours, either reduce them, let's talk first about reducing them. Then, as Alan said, when the student gets their check, they will not have enough salary to cover the premium and any other deductions that may be out of that check.
Right.
So HR has gone painlessly to figure out the right amount of hours per pay period in order for the deductions to take place. So if we faculty members go and change these numbers, it messes up everything. So that's the reason these graphs, these tables are provided. If your student is on family insurance, if your student is on individual insurance, these are the hours per pay period that should be in each timesheet. And when you sign off as a faculty member, we're asking you to check and make sure that these are the correct hours. And I got one more before I get to you, Elizabeth. Why can't I make these numbers bigger then? Can I, rather than 666 on a family plan, can I make it 888?
So the faculty certainly can appoint those number as 8888 throughout and make the total number of hours to be bigger on the NTA appointments. And therefore, there will be more cost, obviously, more budget needed to cover that cost. And at this point, the supplement or the Office of Research is paying for up to the individual plan. And so the PI would have to pay for the difference between the family plan and the individual plan. So if you want to appoint your student to be 172 hours rather than instead of 72 hours, certainly we can do that, but you need to provide an account to have sufficient budget to cover that extra cost beyond the individual plan.
So again, these are the minimum hours that are necessary to pay the premiums along with any other deductions per pay period. And if faculty or students choose not to follow this guideline, then it's on the faculty to either pay the difference, and it's on the student to pay the premium if his or her check, it does not have enough money in it to pay the premium. So we highly recommend that students and faculty follow this table explicitly.
And again, this is not an optional. You should deem this as not an optional income, but a commitment. Again, because we need to meet that 4122 minimum per year to be eligible for the student to be eligible for the NYSHIP program. So if you did not work on if the student did not work this many hours and only submit the 1 hour throughout for all these timesheets, for example, then the student will not be generating 4122 or above of a payroll for that year to be eligible. So it is a commitment of work.
Okay, so we have a question. To clarify, if a student graduated at the end of a summer semester and had an NTA position through spring 2023, do we need to submit a termination document?
I believe so. Daniel, Javier, they nodded their head.
That is correct. Getting a termination form.
And that form would be a PF7.
Okay.
So
And
that
so if you need to terminate the student, contact Javier, Daniel, or Christina, who is also on this call. They can help you with the terminations.
So what I did not see in the presentation is that the faculty have to approve the timesheets. That's an important step. And if the faculty member advisor doesn't approve that, the process, I can't understand, that process doesn't, and we get the same PLAs as if no timesheet was submitted. So I think what's being said is faculty members need to approve the timesheets. If faculty don't approve the timesheets, they just build up and they're not submitted, and the student is not paid, and the insurance is not taken out, And then, and the student thinks he or she has health insurance and they don't. Because they haven't been paying the premiums as a result of these timesheets being submitted. So faculty, all students need to submit the timesheets. Faculty need to approve the timesheets every 2 weeks.
Actually, the student will have an outstanding balance on their account. And that become a liability for the student to pay for. And at the end. And so that again is due to the timesheet is not being submitted timely or accurately. And so it caused some confusion and issues during the past. So we certainly advise the timely and accurate submission of timesheets to avoid these kind of issues.
So my question is to HR, if, and I rarely do this, but if I forget to submit my timesheet, I get a reminder just every now and then. Do students receive reminders if they forget to submit timesheets?
Not, I don't think so, no. I know supervisors, they get like a notification that the student submitted a timesheet, it needs to be approved, but
Right.
right now, I don't think it's the other way around where students get a notification, but we can work on something where
Yeah.
we can send out notifications on a bi-weekly basis to remind the students of submitting their timesheets.
That would
That
be
might-
wonderful.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Okay, another question in these last couple of minutes. Am I understanding correctly that once a student is enrolled in NYSHIP via the NTA appointment, he or she is enrolled and liable for the premium for every semester thereafter until termination paperwork is submitted?
Javier? Daniel?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah. They are
So-
liable.
So I will say it again on top of what HR just said. We have numerous cases where people have left this college years ago and NYSHIP is still being charged. And so then the faculty member gets the bill and the faculty member says, I don't know what this is. And they send it to the provost office. And the provost office says, no, 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 no. I don't do that. And so then it goes to the student. And then the student has this bill for, as Alan said, hundreds or thousands of dollars.
Maybe not that much.
Because
Hundreds.
they were not terminated.
Mhm.
It continues until the termination is put in. So we have to remember to terminate our students. Another question, what should be the termination date for the student who graduates at the end of summer?
The day they graduate will be their termination day.
Okay. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Please tell your colleagues that this has been recorded and that the video is viewable on the website if they weren't able to attend. But we're trying to simplify this process. We admit it is a complicated process, and this is just the first step to simplification. So if you do have suggestions how we might be able to do this differently, we're all ears.
And
But for now, this is where we are. Alan?
if you are faculty or if you are department staff, please encourage your students who are on the NYSHIP NTA appointments right now to join us for tomorrow's town hall. Each individual of them has been notified, but please encourage them to attend.
Also, faculty members are invited tomorrow as well. The webinar will be tomorrow at 11 a.m. Contact your students for the Zoom link. Or you can send me a note if any faculty wish to attend. We will send out the Zoom links as well. So We might do this again in the fall. I don't know. But it's, we're not, I'm saying we'll have NYSHIP. We'll pay for NYSHIP both in the fall and the spring. But we may do this again, a webinar in the spring if there are additional questions, or if we see that we need to repeat this information. So thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of the afternoon.
Thank you.